When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and I'm super excited to be here with you today with another magnificent guest, Miss Katrina Sawa. And she is the Jumpstart Your Biz Queen. We're going to learn all about, no matter where you are in your journey today, you can jumpstart your biz. But before we get started, I would like to thank our sponsor, Dr. Melissa Balazan. Are you in pain, or are you suffering from anxiety or depression? Do you suffer from constipation? Are you being treated for chronic conditions such as high blood pressure or high cholesterol? And are you tired of being put on medication after medication? Girl, if you are taking all those pills, then you need to get in touch with Dr. Melissa, because she helps her clients shift from a plethora of pills to just a few truly necessary ones. Together, they're going to peel back the Band-Aids and get rid of the unnecessary things that are just treating the symptoms. It's time to get to the root cause. So be sure to schedule your Ask Dr. Melissa consultation today at askdrmelissa.net. All right. Well, let's jump in with this wonderful beauty that we have with us today, Katrina Sawa. And as always, I want all of you to remember, we're going to be providing you with links and ways to connect with me and ways to connect with Katrina throughout the show. This is for you to be able to get into our communities and connect with the other people that are within our community to help you jumpstart your biz. So we always want to make sure that you're utilizing those links and going and checking out the communities as they're offered to you. That's why you're here. And you're going to learn a lot about how to jumpstart your biz today. So Katrina Sawa is the CEO and founder of jumpstartyourbiz.com. She is lovingly known as the Jumpstart Your Biz Coach because she kicks her clients into high gear, making more money, doing what they love, and fast. She is the creator of the Jumpstart Your Marketing and Sales System, 10-time international best-selling author with 16 books. Did you guys hear that? Including Love Yourself Successful, Jumpstart Your New Business Now, and the Jumpstart Your Blank series, which I'm also in one of those last series that were released. Katrina's also the CEO of Jumpstart Publishing, where she helps entrepreneurs publish books that generate more clients and revenue. And she's the founder of the International Speaker Network. It's a free educational networking group with thousands of members. Remember in the beginning when I told you about getting connected with the groups we're going to share with you today? This is one if you're looking for a stage that you want to connect with, which is the International Speaker Network. And that information is going to be below in the comments in your show notes as well for you to just click on. That way you can join and become a speaker and get on stage in front of thousands of other people. So Katrina, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colleen. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I want to get right in because you and I have become fast friends in just over a year. We've done a lot of business together. I love your publishing side of your business, and I'm happy that you added that, which is something we should talk about because this wasn't part of your business plan when you first started your business. So let's go all the way back, Katrina, for someone that might be listening that's wanting to launch a business, or they've stalled out in their business, or they are feeling like there's a lot of mundane and maybe they just need a little jump start right now, right? To turn in some fast cash. How it hasn't always been that way for you when you started, right?
No, in fact, I left my last corporate job without really a plan. I knew I wanted to start my own business, and luckily I had consulted a business coach prior to leaving that, just for a little bit, like a couple. I didn't invest heavily, but a couple sessions got me some clarity on which direction to go. So I knew I would do marketing consulting or something with business owners. but I'd already been in the advertising world in my local area. So I knew a lot of local vendors and entrepreneurs and business owners. So I could just go to my networking events because I'd already been networking. So I knew when I left that job and I told my boss to, you know what, that I could just go to the next few networking events and tell people what I'm doing, and I'd probably land a client. So I was really confident in that. I didn't know how to run the business. I didn't know how to help the client. I just went, right? I leaped into business.
You took the leap.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, because what happens for so many clients that you work with, I work with, the number one thing that happens when you talk about, oh, I just left corporate. I knew that if I could go to a couple networking events, I could land a client. They're like, really? How do you do that? Because they're scared. There's fear that hits. What is that fear that's coming up for them, Katrina? What's stopping them from feeling? Because you had not been owning your own business, right? You didn't have everything, like you didn't have the website, the experience. What you had was your knowledge, your skill sets, and your experience from corporate America, which, by the way, everyone, that adds up to a lot.
It does.
Right? Okay.
It does. And I worked in advertising, which helped me figure out like what a good offer is in an ad. Okay. So I learned a lot on the job in that. And I also had a business degree, but as we know, the business degree doesn't really help too much in the real world, right? I didn't have a website. I probably didn't even have any business cards when I went, you guys. I didn't know exactly what I was selling and for how much. It wasn't clear. I just knew that I could help people. I knew the problems I could solve. And I knew how to talk to people and ask questions and listen for what they wanted, and then say, well, I can help you with that. How about we do something together? Like, let's go. Like, and they say, how much? And I'm like, $200, right? Or I'd say $400, whatever it was. I just kind of spit something out. And if it turned out that I was working too hard for that money, then I would go, oh, next time you got to charge more for that, right? Like, I didn't have it all perfect. I just did it. And I didn't have a business license. I didn't have anything. I just went networking, you guys, and started talking to people. That's really all you have to do, right? In the beginning, you just have to get started.
Start before you're ready. Starting before you're ready means, because you know that I launched businesses that I still do not to this day have my mastermind anywhere where someone can click on a button, read about it. It's by personal invitation only. And I fill it every year by personal invitation. It's not out there, right? So everyone thinks I have to advertise. I've got to do Facebook ads. I got to do Google ads. I have to have stuff everywhere. Yes. Am I going to tell you that having a website, and I'll let Katrina tell you that having a website and having freebies and things that lead people back for lead capture is very important? Yes. But that should not be what's holding you back from the success that you are craving or can reach, because you just have to take the first step. If you sit and plan forever behind the scenes, you're never generating any income. That's the number one question I ask people. How much revenue are you generating?
Yeah.
And usually it's not near what they want to generate.
Yeah. You do need to think about, okay, how much money, like if you were, most people don't leap without a plan, right? I did because I was confident in my skill set, like you said. And I already had made connections in the community. So I was already networking in multiple places because of my previous jobs. So I knew a lot of people, and I could just go to them and say, this is what I'm doing now. Who do you know that needs this help? Right. And so I had already laid the foundation. So if you haven't laid the foundation, please go do that now as soon as possible. Okay. So there were many leaps, though, that I took in those first few years before I even left the job. Shortly after I left the job and started my own business, there was turmoil in my marriage at the time, too. So a couple of years into that, and I wasn't getting the support that I needed, I had to leap out of my marriage into my own world just by myself, which was scary. That was probably the scariest thing. Starting the business was not as scary as leaving my marriage with a single income that was still on a roller coaster of cash flow. So that was scarier, but I had to, because I could no longer settle for not a supportive significant other or an unsupportive significant other.
Which leads us to, who are you surrounding yourself with, right? And most people think, when I ask that question, they think it's friends, they think it's colleagues, they think it's people they network around, which is, but they usually exclude their spouse or close family. And the number one people in my life, when I said I was leaving corporate America and going to work full time into my company I had launched, my husband was the first one to say, "No, you're not." I was like, "What? What do you mean, no, I'm not?" "Yeah, I am." He's like, "No, you're not." And I was like, "What is happening right now? How is everyone?" And then my daughters, and it just went on and on. They were the ones that weren't supporting me. It's so important that you have the people fueling you around you for that continued success. Because, they hug onto those layers as you grow and they drop off, So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Katrina. Let's talk about some of the other leaps that you've taken, because you've become a publisher, but that was just recently. Let's go back to the first book that you decided to write.
Yeah. In the beginning of my business, I said, why do I need a book? I just need more clients who are going to pay me hundreds or thousands of dollars, not somebody to buy a $20 thing. Well, it just seems like a waste of time. But then I started hanging around a lot of other entrepreneurs and going to workshops and seminars where there was a lot of people, like 200 to 400 people. And a lot of them had books. And I saw that the ones had books were on the stage. And I'm like, oh, okay. Or they were selling in the back of the room, the book plus multiple other things, getting a lot of traffic to their table. And I'm like, okay. And then I was paying attention and, oh, now they're on TV and they've got this podcast and everything just made sense because, oh, okay. So you leverage the book as a marketing tool to get you all this other stuff to grow the business and the revenues. And so I dabbled into, I wrote a chapter in 3 different compilation books before I wrote my own full book, because I was still in client attraction mode. I needed more consistent revenue in my business. I didn't have time to stop and write a whole book, because you kind of have to stop and put a lot of time and effort into your own full book. So if you're not at the stage to where you're making a lot of consistent revenue yet, then write a chapter in a book instead of your own full book just yet. Right? Is my advice. Stay trying to get the bigger money coming in. So I wrote a chapter in Allie Brown's first book, Power and Soul. That was the first experience. She was a huge marketer at the time. This was 2006. There was like 20 or I think there was 40 of us actually in this book. I got on TV with it, on stages. I got in a lot of different circles because of that book alone. And so, now there's actually, you said 16, there's 18 books. I mean, it just keeps multiplying. I'm like the bunny rabbits over here.
You are a bunny rabbit with books. You need to update your bio like
I know,
every
but
6
it's in
months.
so many different places. I forget where it's updated, where it's not. The point is that once I started doing my own books, it was so much cheaper just to take the publishing in-house. Once I learned how to publish a book and how to source all the editors and all those people that need to put it together, right? And how to do the Amazon KDP stuff. As soon as I learned how to do that, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to do the publishing now because I can cut out the middleman, right? And so now I do the publishing for my own books, but also other people as well, and like your book. And I love doing compilation books because it gets more authors published faster. So
and that was I started the same way. Everyone said you need a book, and I was like, I don't know why I need a book. And then I figured out exactly what you did. But you said something key. And Allie Brown, I love her. And you said something key about you got into circles and communities that you weren't in previously because of the book. We just did this on Clubhouse last Thursday. We do a Clubhouse. So everyone come find us, Raw and Real Business Strategies for Out of the Box Business Strategies for Women. Just look up Raw and Real. We do it every Thursday at 2 p.m. Come join us. You can, come onto the stage and talk about your out of the box ideas. Last week, we were talking all about why books are a really good strategy for growing your business. And we talked about having all the authors in the book and you meeting them and then strategically aligning with them and other communities that they're in and that they know to meet new people that you don't necessarily have met before, because it's the author bringing them all together.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't run in the same circles as some of the other authors.
I was just in this book, Women Gone Wild, last year, and the gal heading it up, Rhonda Swan, She lives in Bali. Okay. I would have never met her ever, like really. And there was a couple other ladies that lived out of the US and never would have met them. And this book is like a movement now. Like I'm just riding the tailcoat, trying to like, how can I, and I've been on her podcast and different things and videos because of it. All because of the power of that book and the collaborative effect of everybody involved. And some people have huge goals with it. It's just one of my 18, frankly. I got other things to do, but some people are just running wild with that experience.
Yeah. I think it's important to state that, because a book can jumpstart your biz, right? It can become your brand. It is your brand. You utilize that brand for everything you do moving forward. Julie Jones is a good example of that. You helped her publish her book, Stop Waiting, Start Living. I was also in that book. Were you in that book with her, Katrina? Okay. I was in that book with her. And now she's having a conference, a 3-day conference. It's going to be labeled Stop Waiting, Start Living, right?
Yeah.
She's doing so many things that are based on that book.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a business card or a calling card or something you can sell at the back of the room. It becomes your brand, and you can give those to clients. It can be more than just that. So I want to get into more about, how are you working with your clients today? Because there are leaps that we have to take in business. You and I take them on a regular basis. Some of them feel very uncomfortable for a while, and some of them are smaller leaps. And so they might not feel so big or, hairy and atrocious, like audaciously huge out there. What are some of the leaps that your clients take, that work with you? What's the common leap that you think working with your clients that you see they need to move into to be able to be successful?
Well, one of the first leaps, I think, is hiring the mentor in the first place. It was for me too, right? So my first investment was with Allie Brown, and she was like 12,000 at the time, which is really inexpensive. When I left her, she was changing it to 100. Okay. She went from
she has $1 million club. Yeah.
I know, right?
She runs,
like I got her early on. Woo me. Yeah. Right. And then it just went up from there. Frankly, all my mentors, most of them were more than that of an investment. So when people invest in me, it's scary and exciting all at the same time. And that's usually a good sense that you're doing the right thing, is when it's scary but exciting, because it should be a little bit of a fear, to invest with a new mentor. But you got to do your homework and find the right one for you. I think that's the first thing. And then it turns into a little bit of like, oh my God, how am I going to get my ROI? Some people get really focused on their ROI. Like, when am I going to make this money back? I need to make it back now. And I'm like, well, we got to do some stuff first, like we got to sell some stuff. We got to set up the business a little bit more. We might have to look at your foundations, your website, all kinds of things. So with me, there's a lot to look at and work on, just like with you. If someone worked with you, we cover a lot of bases, right? So it's not just like, I tell you to do this on social media and you go do it and boop, there's the money, right? It's not as clear as that, because there's a lot of things. But I think first you have to find somebody that's a good fit with you, because I really honestly don't know who out there in this world could make it without 1 to 10 mentors. Right. I don't know, because you just don't know everything. You're not born with this information. You can't possibly do all the research yourself and figure out everything you need to know on the 462 hats you have to wear. It's just humanly impossible. So you have to let down your guard. You have to let down your guard, thinking you're going to figure it all out or do it on a bootstring, and put some money into it. You have to put some investment into it. You wouldn't buy a used car for $1,000, right? Maybe you would for your kid or something, or maybe when we were in college, but you're going to buy an investment in your car, in your home. You got to do it in your business.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said you have to work with the right mentor and coach that's right for you. right? Because along the way you hire, and sometimes you hire multiple ones. I have a
Yeah.
health coach, I have a speaking coach, I have an intuitive coach. I mean, I have different people that I pay along the way. I might have at some point a marketing coach. So it depending upon where I am in business and what I'm looking for. And if you're an entrepreneur and you've kind of got several things in your business that you're not really sure is working, then you should probably work with a business coach, someone like Katrina, who the goal of the Jumpstart, tell us what the goal of the Jumpstart is, right? So is that an acceleration? Is that here's where they are right now? And I kind of think of like, if someone was flatlining, you just put those pads on, it's like boom, 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 and then, the heartbeat starts again. So maybe the heartbeats died out of the business or that person's feeling stalled. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of upward movement happening in the business when they hire you. Tell me what's happening
and
there.
It can be, but most of the clients that come to me, or entrepreneurs, they're at some level of that, what you just described. And the Jumpstart is, I'm really good at seeing the holes and opportunities. So I look at someone's, pretty much everything someone's doing, from the big picture down to the nitty gritty of what they're doing, saying, sending, posting, what their back end looks like, your database, what you're sending out, what you're saying, what you look like in your Zoom room, everything matters to growing your business. So I'm one of those people that looks at the whole picture, even your family. Like if there are naysayers in your life, if you have self-confidence on stuff that you're doing. So I have to find those holes. And as soon as we plug the holes and we take advantage of a couple of the opportunities or tweak some things, you can usually see more income like almost immediately. But you have to be willing to let some stuff go or change, make some changes or do some minor tweaks or be open to some different wording of what you're saying in different places. And if you're not open to that or coachable, then that takes a little longer, right? I have some people that just say, just tell me what to do. And I'm like, great, this is what you need to say over here. This is what you need to do over here. Do this, change that, go. Right. And they will, and boom, the money's right there.
Yeah.
But most people aren't as willing, I'd say 50% of the people are willing to move that quickly. And if that's a lot actually. So you have to be open to getting that advice, as uncomfortable as it might be. And I don't tell you to do it my way or I tell you to change and tweak what you do based on where you are and still putting your personality and authenticity into place with that, for sure.
Right. Because that's what makes them unique, right? It's what's going to make them stand out. So then it makes me think of, the women that, take that leap. And when you pay and invest money that pinches a little bit, it creates super teacher, super student, right? Because you're invested in it. Your teacher and your coach and your mentors invested in it. And it's interesting that you were talking about how, some people are 50% don't, struggle with the changes. And I always like to ask the question. So we'll ask the listeners right now, how's what you're doing up to this point working for you? And if it's not giving you the results that you desire, then maybe it's time to make some changes.
Yeah. And if
be
not
open
now,
to that.
I say, if not now, when?
When?
Right? If not me, who?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make a decision. Indecision is a decision to be stuck and stagnant.
Correct.
So make a decision. And I know that not everybody is made of money, but if you want to go get a job right now, you're going to have to invest time or money in a resume, perhaps some interview coaching, perhaps some research, maybe some classes to learn a new skill. You have to invest in it. But people think they can just start a business and be willy-nilly and they're going to make millions of dollars. I'm like, are you kidding me? It took me 6 years to get to 6 figures.
Yeah.
6 years to get at least 6 figures in a year in income
on a regular basis.
It took a while because I was stubborn. I was very stubborn. I was that person that said, nah, I like your advice, but I think I'm going to do it this way instead. That didn't work for me.
Yeah. And then you quickly learn. So it makes complete sense. So talk to us a little bit now about tell us about a couple of clients that have had some success in working with you, and share with us some of that feedback. I always love to hear success stories that you've had maybe with your business as well as a client of yours.
Yeah. Well, I have many clients who are, when we finally figure out what their rates should be for their programs or their services, and I push them a little outside their comfort zone to charge a little bit more. Like, still, you got to charge as much as you can say without stuttering. I always say, when you stutter, you lose the sale. So I'll say, well, I think it's worth this, and you could charge this. But if they can only say a little bit lower or this price over here, then I say, well, then go charge that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think you can charge. But when they charge a higher price and then get someone to pay them, and or get someone to pay them in full instead of a payment plan, that happens a lot.
It's a win.
With my clients. That's a huge jumpstart, right? So then immediately they have more confidence. They have more validation. Oh, like I had somebody say this morning even that, well, one of the things that happened to me this last quarter was this guy, I raised my rates. I doubled my rates is what she said. And somebody paid me for coaching in full. I didn't think it was possible. And now I know it is, right? And so it's that happens a lot. And then we just keep pushing you to keep raising or keep doing new things. And when you get the validation because someone says yes, or someone raises their hand to that new thing, that's the kind of stuff I love. I love seeing people increase their confidence, their expertise, their pricing, their whatever, when they see that it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what have you done lately?
Success stories, but what have I done lately?
Yeah. To jumpstart your biz. What have you done lately?
I did something new this year. I did my own online summit. I mean, I've done virtual events, right? Before my 3 days, but those are more workshops, and it's mostly me speaking. And last year in 2021, I did a couple summits, but not on a bigger scale with like an online platform and all that. It was just kind of like an event with a bunch of speakers that I just marketed regularly. Most people would say that's a summit. Well, it was. But this year I actually invested in a team and the platform to do it the bigger way, right? And so we created 650 registrants versus like the 100 or something that I did the year before. When I invested, it got bigger. So it got bigger and better, and more results came because of it. And it was just a huge difference. I mean, you can either do it yourself and half-ass it, or hire someone to show you how to do it right. And I didn't, I just hired a team, and I still profited from it. But I was focused on my speakers profiting and doing well. And so I did as much as I could to promote them. And you were one of them. And so that was a new thing for me. I also coupled it with a book launch, which thought I was crazy at the time to do that, but it all worked out. The book became an international bestseller, and the summit was a success. So who'd have known? Who'd have thought, I just did it.
And you're doing an event in October, is that correct? This year in Dallas?
It's in August.
In August.
We have the International Speaker Network. That's a big undertaking. I guess that's another thing that I'm taking a leap to do. I had one friend who was going to do it with me, and then she had to change her plan. And so it's kind of just me now. And I'm like, why do this? Why take on such an event that's like multifaceted with a goal of 200 plus attendees and 28 speakers and 40 vendors? I'm like, I don't know. I must be thinking I'm crazy, but I really believe it's possible and it can happen. And I'm surrounding myself with the right people, event team, AV team, other partners to help promote it and highlight them. And so I'm doing a lot to soften the blow, so to speak, so I don't feel quite as alone. And because I've been burned on events before. I've lost money on events, but it doesn't scare me off of doing them again. I just have to think clearly and smart on how to do it, smarter this time,
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I would think, as we talked about in the beginning, everyone who is a member if, of the International Speakers Association that you offer. It's called the International Speaker Network, that you have. I would imagine anyone that's become a member that have spoken on those virtual stages would be interested
right?
attending this, right? So
I have
getting that out to all of them.
members. Yeah,
with
I have thousands
invites.
of members.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll find 26 speakers. It's not a big deal. Like, it is an investment. It's a pay to play thing. But still, there's plenty of people paying for stages. I've paid for stages before, up to, $5,000. So I don't see a problem finding the right people.
I'm in. Why did I think it was November? I didn't know why I thought it was November, but give me the details on that. I think I've asked you that before. Like,
yeah,
hey,
it's August 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
And I think the reason why I want to get on more, right? Why every single one of us need to be on more stages. It's the reason why Katrina's here today to talk to you on this podcast, is because this is one to many. And when you are sure about your passion, like you said, about your clarity and your confidence, and you're solving someone's problem, it is your responsibility to get on as many stages as you possibly can.
Yes.
To be able to speak to the people that need to hear you, and then let them decide, right, at that point, that you're the right person for them. But how do you attract clients? Like you talked about in the beginning, how do we attract clients if we're not getting out there and we're standing back in the shadows? You've got to get out there. And I've never had a problem paying to get on a stage that I knew that I could sell something, because I always got my return in the end. I was that sure of myself in the, after I knew what the demographics were, obviously, of who was going to be in the audience.
I've paid for a stage before in front of a room of 300 women entrepreneurs. I mean, you and I could both easily, right? So it was perfect. And I think I've made over $100,000 easily from coaching contracts with clients from that event specifically. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was a $3,500 investment. Most people would say, oh my God, $3,500. I'm not going to pay that to be on a stage. Are you kidding me? If you're going to put 300 of my ideal clients in a room, I'm going to get super creative on how to pull enough clients out of that. $3,500 isn't even the cost of one client for me. I mean, if I got one client, it would have been a huge ROI. So
correct.
People just look at those kind of opportunities wrong. I mean, they get their ego involved, or they look at their checkbook and they're like, I can't do it. Well, you can if you see what's possible in the long run, right?
Because every coach I hired when I first started and I came out of corporate, and everything I did was all on credit cards. I literally just charged what I needed to charge to get me where I needed to go. So if you're stalled and you need to jumpstart in your business, Katrina Sawa is a great opportunity for you at jumpstartyourbiznaw.com. Jumpstartyourbiznaw.com. We have all of the information in the show notes. Katrina, you have a giveaway for them today. We also have the link in the show notes, but do you want to tell them what that giveaway is, the offer that you have? It is, I can share a little bit with you. Tell me what the offer is. Because
it's probably just my free trainings page. I have a bunch of free trainings.
Yes. So I believe it's, you talked about there's no time like the present to get some advice from Katrina that can help you make a lot of money. So it's askkat.biz, askkat, KAT.biz. She also has the link in there for you to sign up to be seen, heard, and be visible as a speaker on the iSpeaker network. And then you have a quick 3.5-minute video about Katrina so they can learn more.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you really work with clients? Do you work one-on-one? Do you help me with it, or just tell me what to do? So yeah, that video will help you. So will the about page on my website. And there are a bunch of free trainings on the resources page of my website too. So, but I mean, seriously, there's no time like the present to have just a phone call. I guarantee that I will give you 3 to 5 tips on things you can do right now if you come to that call with me.
Perfect.
It's not a sales call. If you want to talk about that kind of stuff, great. But let's just give you some ideas of what you can do.
Yeah. I always say when you're a newer entrepreneur, and maybe some of you might not be a newer entrepreneur, but maybe your revenue generation is lower than you expected to be right now. That means you probably maybe have a little bit more time than money. And when someone offers you something for free, take it. Yeah. Take the free opportunity to work with a coach who's been coaching for over 20 some years and has a plethora of experience in this area to jumpstart you in 1, 2, or 3 areas for you to get going. So Katrina, it's very kind of you to offer that. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I want to remind you that our next podcast, we're going to be talking about women, wealth, and power. How could you go wrong with that, right? Women, wealth, and power. We're going to be talking about the power within, because that's how women hold their power, right? It's not about ego or power over others. It's about power for change, because that's how we are as women. But I want to leave you with this one message before we leave today. And I want to remind all of you that you are so unique. You are the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. Just think about that for a minute. That's it. You're not in competition with anybody else. How you pioneer your future is up to you. So I'm going to leave you with that and make the suggestion you connect with Katrina below in our show notes. Katrina, thank you so much for joining us today. And for all of you, until next time, be you and be strong. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.